The press out was once the bane of my existence. And for a lot of us lifters out there is nothing more demoralizing than fighting for a hard fought PR to only have it called back as a press out. Now, my first big international event was in my hometown in front of a crowd of 5,000. I needed to hit a big snatch this day in order to be competitive in the total. And after hitting my opener, I went out for my second attempt and hit 2 white lights, only for the jury to then go back and rule that lift a press out. I went back out there to redo the attempt, only to miss it completely, essentially ruling me out and becoming a medalist at this competition. And now, here I am, talking about that dreaded press out 8 years later. Most lifters think that a press out just means having weaker arms or perhaps weaker shoulders, but in reality, a press out is more of a timing and positioning problem that just shows up in the elbows in the form of a press out. In this video, I'm going to explain what a press out is, why it happens, and how to fix it for good in your own lifting. Because in the case for myself, in this lift that I was called for a press out, it was actually the last press out I was ever called for, despite afterwards working my way to compete all around the world in several world championships, continental championships, and eventually the Olympic Games. Now, what is a press out? A press out is essentially when you catch the bar, that when you lock out with the elbows, you either rebend them or you don't straighten them to begin with and somewhat muscle your way through the movement, just hoping your triceps will save the lift essentially. Ideally, for a legal lockout, when we catch the bar, we are catching with solid elbows, no wobbling, no deviation, no rebending. So why do these press outs occur? Now here's the big misconception. Press outs are rarely the occurrence of having weaker triceps or shoulders. If you can overhead squat, jerk recovery, or some way support more than your best snatch and jerk overhead, you're already strong enough. The real issue that most people face is that they're arriving to the bar too late. Now, there's several root causes for this. One is essentially just insufficient bar height. The bar doesn't get high enough, whether that's through a lack of extension or the bar is simply too heavy to where you don't get the bar high enough to get under and lock it out. Another one is slow turnover. Essentially, your arms and shoulders rotate too slowly to get under the bar, whether or not you're over pulling in this situation or you're getting passive in the third pull, which can lead to this next root cause, is that you're catching too high. You're not using the arms to pull or push yourself under the bar, and you're meeting the bar with bent arms, so it turns into more of a catch and press as opposed to catching slightly lower with locked out elbows. The next common one is essentially just poor bar positioning. Essentially, if the bar drifts forward post extension and you have to use the arms to restabilize before standing. And the next root cause is a delayed punch of the elbows in the jerk or the snatch catch. After you drive the bar up with the legs, you either need to pull yourself under aggressively and punch up against the bar, or after you drive in the jerk, push yourself under and punch for that solid lockout. Many lifters may get passive after this leg drive and forget all about the whole locking out nonsense and run into issues where they're not active in this phase of the lift. There's no time in an Olympic lift to be passive. You're either pushing up with the legs or pulling under and punching for a solid lockout. Now, the main idea, core principle here, is that the faster you move under the bar and establish a solid lockout, the less likely you are to press out. Now, in the snatch, a press out usually occurs when the bar drifts forward too much or you're too slow in turning over. In the jerk, a press out is typically caused by a forward drive, a soft dip where you lose position in the bottom, with also a short split, and with either a delayed or premature use of the arms. Different lifts, but same underlying issue. You didn't establish an overhead position fast enough. But luckily enough, we have plenty of drills across these lifts to work on this. Here are my favorite drills to eliminate the press out that's worked with not only myself, but with my lifters all over the world. Firstly, tall snatches and tall jerks. These don't need to be loaded heavily or at all when you're learning them, but essentially these teach you from that top extended range how to push under and search for that solid lockout. Fast arms, quick split, pulling under that bar fast. It's all about speed and getting to that lockout position. Next, which I would say is a bit of a progression and does require some strength here, is starting with some overhead squats, being able to comfortably overhead squat your snatch. Once you get strong with this, being able to snatch balance at least your snatch or a slight surplus. And alongside that on the side, if you feel like you need that bottom position support work, adding in some SOTS press where you're strict pressing in this bottom catch position. If you can't do this, starting higher and strict pressing, and over time, lowering that squat depth until you're in the bottom. This may take some time, but does progress faster than you may think. Next one for snatches are no feet snatches. And these are one of my favorite snatch accessory movements. It promotes full leg drive as long as having much better bar proximity and awareness for where the bar is as your feet are planted the whole time. So with this grounding of the feet, you'll have an awareness to where the bar is, so you can pull under, hit that solid lockout position, where if you have an issue with an early rising of the feet, this could be a reason for your press outs. The next one are jerk balances, whether that's from the front rack or even the back rack. Having a short dip and drive followed by actively pushing under and holding in the split gives you that timing and rhythm that we're looking for when we implement it with weight in the split. Now, before I get to this last drill, if there is a strength issue here, particularly in that very end range of lockout, you may feel like the elbows are wobbling, coming in and out of locking out. One thing that I've done with my training that has worked wonders for me is prolonging that overhead position after you've already locked out and completed the lift. Whether that's standing after your snatches for an extra couple seconds, holding it in the top of your jerks, or even push press for that matter. That extra few seconds of time under tension for myself really worked towards having a solid end range lockout. And if this is you that does have this issue, you can then work into an exercise which is more jerk related, but jerk recoveries, whether that's in the split or even power jerk recoveries. I have my athlete Carsten, for example, where we have religiously been working on this each week, throwing in some power jerk recoveries to end the week. And not only has he worked towards not pressing at any lifts, but his overhead position overall is much stronger and more confident when it comes to his jerk, being able to power jerk recovery well over his best clean and jerk for reps. As for cues for not having that pesky lockout take place in your lifting, for the snatch, thinking punching up with the elbows, meeting the bar to the height in which you pull it to instead of diving under, as well as pulling under post extension. In the jerk, think of driving with the legs, then pushing under, not intertwining the two to where the arms are working before the legs have finished their drive. This can lead to a short catch and press out. Full leg drive, then active with the arms, alongside punching for a solid lockout and splitting faster with the feet, particularly getting that back knee down fast post jerk drive. This helps then load that back leg and create a nice solid split position. Now, if you keep getting called for those pesky press outs, don't just assume that you need bigger triceps. In most cases, the real issue is timing, bar path, and overhead positioning. Fix those and the elbows will take care of themselves. Now, if your lifts feel good when you're warming up with sub-maximal weight, but once there's either more weight on the bar, you're holding a bit of fatigue, or the pressure is on, I've released something that may help. For the first time in 3 years, I've made one of our Raising Minimums training blocks available as a standalone 12-week weightlifting program. The exact style of programming that's not only taken me to the Olympics, but also has helped my athletes all around the world work on their technique, build up their strength, and their overall consistency. If you want lifetime access to this 12-week training block through Train Heroic for a limited time, you can use the code RAISE for 45% off. You can find a link at the top of the description to see more. And also, YouTube has suggested 2 more videos here that may help you further with your lifting.